Welcome to the Lit Twins Click podcast. I am Claudia, and this is a place where we talk about and celebrate our favorite artists, Lit Twins, and we discuss how they have inspired our personal lives as well as their impact in broader culture. My next guest is the amazing Starla. She's a writer, a poet, a lyricist, as well as a hairstylist and barber. This is the first part of our conversation, and here Starla talks about her upbringing in hip hop culture, as well as the major impact that the twins have had in her personal life after a scary health diagnosis, as well as the impact that they have had on her artistry. She has written multiple books, but specifically two of them are the twins inspired. And so you will hear all about that. This is a truly heartfelt episode, so I hope you enjoyed as much as I did recording it. Hi, Starla. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, I am wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for being here. So let's start with the usual question. Where are you from and where are you based?
Yes, so I was originally born in Los Angeles, Alley, West Side.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I've been here in the Midwest. I live in Kansas now, and I've been here for, oh, I don't even know how many years, but a long time. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Let's talk about your Litwins journey. How did you get into them?
My darling, it's been a journey for sure. Okay, so let's go all the way back. I knew who Lay Twins were from World of Dance.
Okay.
They're when they were super young. I happen to be a hairstylist,
Mhm.
and this is the really weird God connection moment here. But as a
Mm.
hairstylist, Paul Mitchell Products sponsors World of Dance. If you
Right.
look at any of the old videos, you'll see a little
Uh,
sign that says Paul Mitchell. So the video of the twins dancing was actually circulated among hairstylists because they
uh,
are so wonderful and special. A group of hairstylists was kind of sharing this, and so that's when I very first saw them, and I thought, oh my god, they're amazing, and funny. And so it was their old World of Dance. And
mhm.
then I really I didn't quite pick up on it, how elite they are, until later. This is a lot to unpack, so bear with me. If you're listening,
Yeah,
please
yeah,
do
please.
not turn. Do not turn. Listen, this is important.
I want the full story.
What happened for me, and this is extremely deep, you could almost call it spiritual. So let's fast forward to World of Dance, the competition that they won. And my partner and I, we watch a ton of dancing shows. So we
Mhm.
watched that show start to finish, and we were rooting for them the entire way, because at that point I knew them not only as dancers with, my one French word that I know, avec Beyonce, but also from World of Dance. And then also I've seen them here and there because I kind of keep my eye on dancers that I like. And
Mhm.
so there have been times they've popped up and I'm like, oh wow, it's like twins again. And then what happened was the pandemic happened. The whole world is shut down. And in 2020, I had one of the roughest years I've had in my entire life.
Mhm.
I was extremely ill and in a ton of pain.
Right.
And this was all happening right at the time the shutdown happened. And when we got word that, okay, this is a real thing, this is happening, about 2 days later, I'm at home feeling absolutely miserable. I don't know what's wrong with me. And something was like, well, I'm on YouTube, and I thought, okay, let me see what Lay Twins are up to. So I typed in Lay Twins. The very first video that popped up was Larry dancing to the song My Mind by Yeba in Piccadilly.
Yes. Yes.
And I could recall this day just like I did it 5 seconds ago. So
Right.
I'm sitting in my chair and
Mhm.
I've got the laptop on, I'm watching, and it was so emotional. And y'all don't know me, but I am
Mhm.
not a person who cries easily.
Right.
And I'm sitting there and I look down at my hands and they're wet. And I was like, what? And then I realized I was crying. I was like, oh, pull it together, Starla. So, I'm wiping tears and I'm just like, that was absolutely moving. That the song, everything about him, his emotion, the way they emote, I was
Yes.
just transfixed. And so the next suggested video was Laurent dancing in Greece. I believe it's
Yeah.
Rihanna. And
Yeah.
then I'm watching him dance and I'm just like, what in the world is happening? And then at the very end of the video, he does his 360 and then drops into a split. And he hit the ground so hard, it made me jump. And I go, what is happening? So that sent me down the rabbit hole, which many other people have described. Once you kind of come into Lay Twins orbit, you just go
Yeah.
down this rabbit hole and you want to know more and you see more. And I promise you, I've seen every video that they've ever done multiple times. It's an obsession at this point, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my therapist also says that I'm okay with it. So
I love
it's
this.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let me tell you what happened to me. So uh right, this is the beginning of the shutdown. This has all happened. And I was like, okay, I need something to fill up my time. So I, followed them on Instagram. I'm looking at videos on YouTube. At this time, I also found out that I was diagnosed with an incurable autoimmune disorder called sarcoidosis. And
Okay.
I call this condition whack a mole because it is absolutely
Mm.
that. When they discovered that I had sarcoid, I had over 30 masses in my chest
Oh
that
wow.
yeah, it was extremely serious. I was very ill. There was a lot of times I kind of laid around like I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Right.
And what it watching them became my go-to place for some type of an emotional healing.
Emotional
It was very
release. Yeah.
absolutely.
Transmutation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's so interesting, and then we'll get into later the stuff that I've written about them
Mhm.
because they have a gift that is incredibly deep.
Mhm. I agree.
And you're going to hear these stories over and over again of how they've touched people and changed their lives. And I've heard interviews with Larry where he said they didn't believe it. Like when people
Mm.
would come up and be like, I was fighting cancer and I used to watch your videos all the time and now look at me, I'm better. And I clung to the hope of getting better by watching them, and not only watching them, listening to them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was put on a medication called prednisone, and if anybody understands, that's a steroid. And I
I see.
immediately ballooned up about 50 pounds. And then Laurent, talk about God timing, Laurent started doing Body by Low. And so he was doing
Ah.
these, yeah, he was doing these little 10-minute workouts. And when I tell you my pain levels were so high back then
Mm.
that I couldn't even think about exercising. But when I listened to him, I was like, okay, I could do 10 minutes. I could do 10 minutes.
Hmm.
What's 10 minutes
Mhm.
going to kill me? And
Mhm.
so I'd put on my knee brace and I would do Body by Low to the best of my poor little heart. I would just do it.
Oh,
And I started to look forward to the lives and especially the conversations after the
I
live.
I love those conversations.
Oh,
Yes.
they were so wonderful. And you got a little deeper insight to him
Yeah.
and to the fans. It was like my happy place in the mornings. I'd get up and
Yeah.
I'd get to experience that. But it sent me on a journey of healing. And definitely, I've down 50 pounds
Mm.
since 2020.
Wow. Amazing.
My lungs are about 90% better than
Wow.
what they were when I was first diagnosed. And but their life philosophies of no mercy, don't give up, all these
Yeah.
things is what
Yeah.
has kind of sustained me through some very, very hard times.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to admit or ashamed to admit that I use them. I
Yeah.
absolutely am
Yeah.
using them for the gifts that they give. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's the how and the when. Yeah.
Well, I feel like
There is often this like spiritual component. I think I said it that it was like, well, I don't know why they only entered my life a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said that, they enter your life when you need them,
When
or
you
when
need
it's
it.
and when you can best receive them as well. And I thought,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very true. And but I love like hearing all these spiritual components to it, because it does make, as you said, I feel like there's so much depth in their
Mm-hmm.
communication and in their artistry that I really love people to talk about, because I feel like, yeah, there's something like this multidimensional aspect to their
Absolutely.
artistry that really makes them stand out so much. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like they all like alchemize emotions.
Mm-hmm. That's a great word. Yes.
That's how.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like you feel them going through their negative emotion, and then
Mm-hmm.
through the way they dance, they
Mm-hmm.
get to a place of feeling good. And I feel like especially Law, but even Larry said, like, they both say it's like it
Yes.
has to feel good to you, the movements that you make. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, um, golly. So, just for a hot second, that is a really important point you just made. It's incredibly important because um, I I'm a weirdo, self admitted, and I have seen, like I said, tons of their videos, but I also
Mm.
like to watch reaction videos of other people who are
Right. Yeah.
discovering them, or, and shout out Small Pound because I was watching him consistently do his reaction videos to Lay Twins.
Mm-hmm.
And he had identified something as well. When it comes to the gift that they have, I connected to them through the pain. I was in physical pain, I was in
Yeah.
mental pain. And when
Yeah.
I see them dance so often, it's not a pleasant thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I see comments of people like smiling and happy and they're so excited. And I totally understand. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying is that, yes, I'm glad people feel joy and
Mm-hmm.
happiness when they see their movement and their artistry. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, I was connecting to the pain. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, how do I move past this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Beautiful.
it
Yes.
was just
Yes.
like when I saw Larry dancing in Piccadilly and the music, his movements, everything about it, that's why I was crying because I connected. I'm like, whatever he's going through, and I have no idea. I don't know them personally, but
Yeah.
whatever he's going through, I feel the same way.
Right.
Like, you know what
Yes.
I mean? And
Yes.
when the Ron at the end of that video, when he bent over and he screamed, like, I feel the same way. I connected through the pain. And so for me, it's not,
Mm-hmm.
which for me, this is just art in general, is a healing
Yes.
tool, is
Yes.
often not joyful. It's not
Mm-hmm.
fun. It doesn't always make me feel good at first. Then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's moments where they can be absolutely goofy and silly, and I love that as well. And I
Yes.
am smiling. But they're
And that's
so,
healing too.
it is absolutely, yeah. So I just wanted to kind of circle that what you just said because that's so important. Like like you said, the alchemy of what they do is has such a deeper meaning to it. So yeah.
It reminds me of when I used to read like, like ancient Greek
Mm-hmm.
literature, and
Mm-hmm.
how they would be talking about catharsis through theater. Like people would
Yeah.
go and see and watch these plays that sometimes would last for hours, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody was like moving through the emotion
Mm-hmm.
through the play. And I feel
Yes,
like that's what they do. It's like really a cathartic, or
it is for
a
me.
performance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely that for me. Mm-hmm.
So you said that you always watch dance videos. What has
Mm-hmm.
been the role of dance in your life?
I don't consider myself a dancer, even though I have danced. I do dance, but it has not been my gift. We'll just put
Right.
it that
Okay. Okay.
way.
Yeah.
My artistry is words. I have an absolutely ridiculous relationship with words, and
I
it's like,
noticed. It's
my
beautiful.
side chick is words. We go together real bad.
Yeah.
And so my parents were both musicians. And I grew up in a household of people always full of music and mostly gospel. My
Mm.
father was an absolute genius. Like, he could play anything on the piano, and he played by ear, he played by memory, he played by, like, he was just incredible. And so I grew up with his influence on me when it comes to music. And so growing up with that, like, when I first found out about hip hop, started listening to hip hop, my father hated it. He hated it. He's like, all those bad words and all this and that. And I was just like, okay, daddy. And then I would like put on this is how old I am. I had a Walkman. I would put
Mhm.
it in like my little Walkman, and I would
Yeah.
try to hide it from my parents so they didn't know I was listening to it. But I fell in love with hip hop at a very young age. I was probably like 13, 14.
Mhm.
And because of hip hop, I just wanted to be exposed to everything that was hip hop, which of course
Mhm.
included dance.
Mhm.
Fast forward in the early 90s, I did a lot of music early on in my life. I was always singing, I was always performing, doing these type of things. And when I got into at a high school, I met up with some people who had two different rap groups. So within the rap groups, I kind of got I don't want to say pushed. I kind of ended up in both of these groups. And I was a singer slash rapper. I thought I was going
Mhm.
to be the next Queen Latifah, honey. You couldn't tell me
Yay!
nothing. Like, but
Great.
I've always been a lyricist. You know,
Yes.
lyrics really appeal to me. And I've always
Yeah.
been a writer, a songwriter. And so within these two groups, we had an amazing time because we were constantly performing. And
Mhm.
there was some slight choreography
Mhm.
within one of the groups that I performed with, but I was exposed to hip hop as it was just still fresh. You
Mm.
know, because we would perform places and the hip hop dancers would come out, you know. So I've been around watching this dance for a long time. And then the groups kind of dissipated. I had a little come to Jesus with myself after some things happened. And I
Mhm.
said, you know what? This is a lot of fun and I'm enjoying myself, but I'm not going to get paid. I did not have any confidence that I was actually going to make it as a hip hop artist,
Right.
and I literally gave up. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to college because y'all are going to sit around each other's basements for the next 20 years and we're
Yeah, you
never
didn't.
gonna make anything happen. And I'm still connected to the people who I create music with, and this is gonna be a full circle moment at the end of this podcast. But
Mm.
I love them so much, and they taught me so much. Hip hop has just done so much for me
Mm.
that it was like, okay, I really like it, but I'm going to pull back some so I could focus on school. And then I ended up in gay bars because I'm queer. I ended
Yeah.
up in gay bars and I ended up performing in gay bars as a drag king. Now,
Wow.
a lot of people are not familiar with drag kings.
I read it first from your article. Like I didn't know it was something that existed.
Yeah. Um, Still to this day, one of my very best friends introduced me to this thing called being a drag king. And he said, would you like
Mm.
to perform? And I was like, sure, I love to perform. What are we doing? You know, and he's like,
Mhm.
kind of snowballed into this thing where I ended up performing in bars all around Kansas City for a nice little chunk of time. And through that I danced. I've
Mm.
made up choreography. I've done other people's choreography. You know,
Oh,
dance was a
that's
huge
cool.
part of it. And also that is very funny because I think I mentioned this in the article as well, is there were some very big hip hop dancers who would sneak into the queer bars and then pick up the moves. They were there. Well, there's a freedom inside queer
Uh,
bars and we don't even have time to unpack that. But there's a
yeah.
freedom to just do whatever you want when you're in a queer
Right.
bar.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
there were hip hop dancers in Kansas City who would kind of come incognito into the club and they would dance. And they were also teachers that came there and danced. And sometimes it was more battle, sometimes, but I was exposed to this from, like I said, for many, many years.
Mhm.
And again, I do not consider myself by any stretch of the imagination a really great dancer, but it's been a part of my
But it has been a
life.
part of your life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that that was that. And then here come Lady Twins in my life years and years and
Mm-hmm.
years later.
Yeah.
And I never put my pen down. I've always written.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the challenge for me has been, as I grow older, I want so much to still be a part of the hip hop culture, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel confident in my abilities as a rapper anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, what can I contribute? And of course, my
Mm.
writing. That's what I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do is my writing. So I've kind of transitioned through this whole thing, and it's circled back to the writing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like my experience with dance is it's I appreciate dance.
Mm-hmm.
I
It has
really, really
inspired
do.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Nobody has inspired me more than Larry and LeRon when it comes to dance.
Yeah.
And I've watched a lot of really great dancers, but nobody has touched me the
No,
way they
I
do.
agree. Same for me. So you've written multiple books about many different subjects, but you wrote two novels
Hmm.
that are inspired by Larry and Lowe, the characters that are in it. And yeah, I wanted to ask you, so how has that come about? The idea and then the writing, and then I'm gonna say something about the book because I told you that
Okay.
I really love them.
Oh, I appreciate you so so much, so so much. The writing journey. So again, 2020, I'm not feeling well, going through the motions. 2021, I started to turn the corner of feeling a little better, was getting treatment. Keep in mind, at this point, I'm watching Lady Twins every day,
Yeah,
every single day.
yeah.
And I in 2021 I made up my mind that I was going to get to a workshop because I didn't
Mm,
know that they did workshops. I don't
right.
think until 2020. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm going to go to a workshop. And as it is for me when I write novels, I have ideas floating around in my head and I go, this would make a really great book. And
Mm-hmm.
so as I'm just thinking about it, I haven't written a thing. I'm just thinking about it. And I go, you know what? I'm going to write this as a tribute to them because as basically, yeah, as a thank you because what they did for me is huge. It's huge. It's not a small thing. I don't, it's not small. So I was like, I'm going to do this as a tribute. It takes me about a year to write a novel.
Yeah.
And during that time, I literally was focused on getting healthy, writing the
Yeah.
novel. That was like my focus.
Right.
I'm what's known as a pantser. So I
What's
have
that?
zero concept of what I'm going to write when I write it. I
I
don't outline
see. Yeah,
it.
that's what I wanted to ask you because it's like,
Hmm.
as I was reading the book, I'm like, I wonder how, like, all this,
Hmm.
like the plot, how it came to
The
you,
plot,
if you
yeah.
had it in mind, or as you're writing, it just writes itself.
Well, you can call it freestyle of writing because I have zero plot in mind.
Beautiful.
I literally, with every single character I've ever written about, I literally develop the character and then I throw them in scenarios. But at some
Hmm.
point, it doesn't matter what I feel like the book is going to be about, no matter what, and I believe this is my gift, it takes on its own life.
Yeah.
I don't ever
Yes.
plan to write anything. Never.
Yes.
It's just I have to do it. Like they have to dance, I have to write.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the most frustrating and ridiculous thing in the world. I
Right.
have been woken up at 3, 4 in the morning with an idea and go,
Yeah.
okay, I'll get back to that when I wake up. And my brain is like, nope, get up and write it down right now. And it
Yeah.
is so frustrating, but I have to do it. Like I
You
have
have
to
to
do
do
it.
it.
So I came up with the characters of Orion and Canis, and also one of my big favorites is Janelle Monet because she's beautiful, she's queer, she's to me hip hop. So I made her their little sister as they are inspired. The characters are inspired by, and
Hmm.
so I started writing it in 2021, and then like I said, it took me about a year to finish.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because, actually what happened is I finished the second book a couple of days ago, and you know
Okay.
how your mind goes into like, oh, I would like to like go back into that world. Like
Yes,
like
yes,
sometimes through the day I'm like, oh, like I wish like that's why I think like it could be a series. Like would you
yeah.
do several little books?
Yeah, I am working on the third one now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah, because it's very much unfinished. That's again, the story has to tell me when it's done. I don't
Uh-huh.
make these decisions.
But I feel like there's so much
So,
potential of development. Like you can write
yeah,
infinite stories with those characters.
yeah.
Just to let people know. So these two characters, there's Orion and Canis, who are based
Mhm.
on Lo and Larry.
Mhm.
And they are these demigods.
Yes.
They get assigned by their mother. They get this assignment to come to a parallel reality of Earth, which is in the first book is the one that we are living in.
Yes.
And they end up in LA, and
Mhm.
so to save people, help people, heal people through hip hop and through music.
Mhm.
Obviously, in the case of Orion and Canis, through dance as well.
Yes.
And what I really loved about the book is that there's a lot of love in it.
Mm.
That's why, because
Yeah.
I'm not a big sci-fi fan
Mhm.
because I feel that they often can get, cold and too dystopic. But I
Dystopic.
felt, yeah, but I felt like in your book, it felt good reading it because it
Mm.
was just, it's full of love. It's full of, scenes that are just so beautiful and elegant. And
Thank you.
that's what I really appreciated.
Thank you
Oh
so
my
much
God.
for that. I would watch them interact with each other,
Hmm.
and something about them being twins, but just something about who they are as individuals too, is one thing that hip hop, and I don't want to go too deep right now, but one thing that hip hop, in my humble opinion, is severely lacking is for men to have relationships with other men
Right.
that are based on real, genuine affection towards each other.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
And we've been missing this in hip hop, like
Hmm.
just within the culture itself. And they are a absolute shining example of not being afraid, one, to be authentically yourself, but also to not be afraid to reach out and mentor and care for other men,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, having
that
that
is
nurturing aspect.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's not something you see easily within the community, and I just so appreciate them for that. And even their fights and arguments, like, which sometimes really crack me up, but there's an underlying layer of love underneath it
Yeah.
that's like, you know what, bro, like you're really getting on my nerves right now and I still love you. And then they go
Yeah.
back to being playful with each other. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's an example to all of us how I truly, truly believe in unconditional love. And
Mm.
I love absolutely everybody. I don't like everybody,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love everybody.
Yeah. I feel
And
that too.
I believe in meeting people where they are. I'm not trying to change
Exactly.
you. Some people are just really toxic and unhealthy for you, and
Yeah.
you just have to stop being around them. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean
I
I
don't
don't
have to
love you.
engage. Right.
Yeah, but I feel like they are showing us a really great example of like unconditional love for family and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Larry, one time he said something that I was like, yeah, it feels about right. He said that they get along even when they don't get along.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, I get that. Okay, so another thing about the book is that as I
Hmm.
was reading it, it really felt like a movie. And then I read your article of when you
Hmm.
met them in
Hmm.
Atlanta in 2023, and you said that too, that it could be a
Hmm.
movie. I don't know, did
Hmm.
you tell them that? Yeah, I also wanted to know how, like, you gave them the book and how's that story, how they received it, and yeah, that anecdote.
Yeah, so I made it to Atlanta when they were on the Renaissance World Tour, and I was trying to catch them. Sometimes it's super challenging because they don't always give fans a bunch of notice. and
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
need a ton of notice to do anything and go anywhere because I'm
Right.
coming with all of my issues. So when I found out they were going to be in Atlanta, I was like, yay, I think I can do the Atlanta workshop. So I was super excited. I literally rushed to finish the book about 3 weeks before the Atlanta workshop. So I was like pushing it. But I got it done, and I knew I definitely wanted to gift it to them and tell them how much they meant to me. And so
Mm.
I was hosted by one of the fans who's absolutely lovely. And I
Mm-hmm.
picked up yet another fan on my way to Atlanta. So it was like
Awesome.
4 or 5 of us together. And
Mm-hmm.
it was absolutely outstanding. It was lovely. Went to the workshop. Everybody was super kind, super nice. And unfortunately, I did not get meet and greet tickets. So
Yeah.
I had planned to give them the novels during the meet and greet, and then I didn't get the tickets, and I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I didn't come all the way from Kansas City not to give them these novels, so I got to
Right.
figure something out. But I'm
Yeah.
very much a person, like, if you ever see me at anywhere where the twins are, please, I'm super friendly, and please say hi to me. I'm the lady with the long nails and the cane, but
Nice.
but I
We
kind of
shall
sit
do
in the
that.
background. I try because they love their fans so much, and there's always people surrounding them, and
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of like back. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just don't want to be like up in their face. So I
Right.
enjoyed the workshop. They had a break between the workshop and the cipher, and I thought, aha, that's my chance to give them the novels. So at that time, I was using two canes because I usually use two canes when I'm on very unfamiliar surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And I one of my friends was carrying the boxes that I had their novels. I gifted them novels, a t-shirt, and some candy. And
Mm-hmm.
when I approached Larry, I showed you the video, and he's
Yeah.
he's walking up to me like he has canes, like imaginary canes. So
Ah, that's what he was
and
doing.
that's what he was doing. And so I introduced myself and I said, hi, my name is Starla. I'm one of your biggest fans. And he
Mm.
goes, oh. And so I said, I have some gifts for you and Laurent. And he says, okay. And so he opens the box and there's candy on top. And in typical Larry fashion, he grabs the candy. He's like, thank you. And he walks away. And I was like, wait a minute. There's something else in the box. So he comes back and I hand him the novel and I flipped it open to the dedication page and I had highlighted and I had signed their book.
Mhm.
And he looks at me and his mouth just dropped open. He goes, what? He goes, you did this? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, why would you do that?
Oh.
And all of a sudden, me, the talker, I'm at a loss of words. I'm like, because because you're really special. And so he whistles for Laurent. He's like, Lo, come here. And he's showing the book to Concrete, who is another hip hop
Yeah.
crump dancer. And
Hmm.
he's showing him the book and they're flipping through it. And I'm kind of bombarded by a bunch of things happening at once. So all of a sudden, Lo is standing in front of me. And he's so close, I have to look up. And I'm just like, hi. And it's like, hi. And so Larry shows him the book, he shows him the dedication, and he looked at me and his eyebrows are all knitted together and he starts flipping and his box is still being held by my friend and so he flips over the top, he goes flips the candy around, he grabs the book, he's flipping through it and he's giving me these eyebrows. And I'm just like,
Like, what is
hi,
it?
yeah, what is this? And so he goes, you did this? And so I go, yeah. And then Larry's talking and he goes, what's it about? And I was like, you, it's a movie. It's a movie in a book form. It could be a movie. And so I now I'm back at Laurent and he goes, I'm gonna hug you. And I was like, bring it in, bring it in. I'm all for
Oh,
the hugs. And so when he was hugging me, I said, I just wanted to really say thank you to both of you for, you don't even understand what you've done for me. I said, I wrote them both a letter to kind of
yeah. Okay.
explain all of this. And so I said, it's in the letter and everything because I didn't want to take up a bunch of time because this
Hmm.
was, this was unscheduled. You know what I mean? They were supposed to be starting the cipher. So
Right.
was trying not to take up a bunch of time, but he's hugging me, and when I say I radiated joy joy,
Mm,
not happiness, joy.
mhm,
And his little fingers are dancing up my arms. And I
mm.
mean, my smile was so big. Like, it was just wonderful. They were just
Mm.
absolutely lovely. And like I said, I'm the one with the long nails. So my nail tech, I had her paint a Les Twins design on my nails.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
the young lady who was checking everybody in at the workshop, she saw my nails and she was like, "Oh my God, they have to see your nails. Have they seen your nails?"
Yeah.
I said, "No, I just got here. I haven't talked to anybody." And she goes, "Well, they have to see your nails." And so in the midst of all this whirlwind of giving them the gifts and everything, she walks by and she goes, look at her nails. Look at her nails." And so I show him my nails, and Larry, he's like, "Hey, Larry Twin."
That's awesome.
So funny. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot
It
of
was
fun.
fun.
They were super sweet about it. I wish, I really really wish, hindsight's 2020 and I don't regret have any regrets. But I would like to at some point explain to them
Hmm.
that in my writings, I really do envision it as a movie. That was how it
Hmm.
came to me. That's how I
Yeah.
wrote it. But
That's how I felt to me reading it.
yeah, I would not
Yeah.
be upset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset if it became a movie from my
Yeah.
lips and your lips to God's ears.
But before, when you said that the book is a tribute, it just makes me think like I find that this is the thing for many people, for many fans. I feel like they have given me so much, and there's this tendency of wanting to give back,
Yes.
or at least to reflect the love back. And then people go into, will they even be open? Like, how can they even receive it? And I get
Hmm.
why you wrote the book as a tribute, because
Hmm.
it feels like it does generate a lot of energy, and that energy somewhat is
Hmm.
directed to them. But in what
Yes.
form they receive it, if they really
Hmm.
truly receive it, if they can really truly feel it, I don't know. I
Yes.
assume that they must on some level. I'm
Hmm.
just yeah, sometimes I even wonder what's the best way, to
Yeah.
reflect it back to them. And
Yeah.
probably it is through your own gifts, like you've done.
I how do you repay someone who heals you? Like,
Right.
that's such a challenging thing, because I really did spend a lot of time thinking about what I could do. They're such givers when it comes to how much they give of their bodies, their time, their
Mm.
energies to people.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, as soon as I took this journey of writing books that are inspired by them, I said, I want to write like they dance.
Yeah, that's something that I thought. I actually thought as I was reading the book.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear you say that. They're so great at what they do. I had to find a way to quantify that and make it make sense for myself first, because I feel like all gifts are given to us for us first. But then what
Right.
is a gift if you don't share it? So then sharing
Uh-huh.
it back to them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just, they've done so much for me. It's incredible. And to be able
Yeah.
to take the writing journey and have a focal point to say,
Yeah.
okay, my goal is to complete this novel. Like, I know I'm going on the cruise coming up, and it's just like my goal is to
Ah,
complete the
yeah.
third book
By the
before
time
this
the cruise.
cruise. Yeah, so
Oh, yeah. So you've got the
I'm
deadline.
really, I've definitely, but I need that.
Mm-hmm.
As a artist currently now with words, I'll tell you this, and this is going to be a little squirrel side moment, but one way they have greatly impacted me as well is because I grew up in the hood. Like, I grew
Mm-hmm.
up in West LA in the height of the
Right.
Crips and Bloods, and
Wow.
the way that we survive situations where you're thrust into poverty or
Mm-hmm.
horrible living situations or
Yep.
whatever, like, the way that we survive and come out of that is
Mm-hmm.
often artistic. And I'm so proud of them, because Laurent has always said that I didn't have a plan B. This was
Mm-hmm.
plan A, and I was just going with plan A. And for
Yeah.
me, my writing is my plan C, D, E, F, G. I'm
Uh-huh.
still trying to find out how to make it plan A. And so I look to them and I'm
Okay,
just
I
like,
got that.
how did they
Hmm.
manage to dance on the streets and
Mm-hmm.
end up where they are now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the magic behind that? I'm still trying to figure out that alchemy, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not there, and
Yeah.
I feel like I have an important gift, and I feel like a very inspired writer, but somehow I'm missing something. And so my thing has been, I never wanted to be a starving artist. I just
Right.
wanted to be
Yeah.
an artist. And so
Right.
I kept working. I've been a hairstylist for over 30 years and a barber, and I just kept working, and then I do this as my creative outlet. But and
Right.
I know it's that way for many people, but I so strive to be and to have what they have, not like materialistically at all, but just to
But
be
in
able to
your own,
express,
yeah.
for
Yeah. I
people to
totally
know
get
that
that.
I'm here. Like Larry gets so
Mm-hmm.
emotional when he's like, we were two little boys and we wanted people to know that we existed. You know, and when you come from circumstances where people don't see
See
you,
you.
they don't know that you are alive, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't know that you're going through horrible situations and you're just trying to survive it, and then somehow you get this gift and then you go, oh, I want people to see my gift. It's like, I don't know how they traverse that, and I'm still listening and trying to figure this thing out, because they have something so beautifully special and they're letting the world in.
I feel
I'm
like
like,
it almost feels like an unconscious, just sheer drive
yeah,
that they
yeah,
have. They're
yeah.
like so relentless with their actions. And
They've got that Sag fire dragon energy that just don't stop, keep going. And yeah, education is extremely important to me. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to dance, is because
yeah.
for me, rediscovering Larry and Laurent has been an open door of learning body communication. Because I sometimes think, oh, okay, I got this word thing down. I got this, I got these words. And I can kind of make them make sense, even though I'm still playing with words in a way that I want to feel kind of free and open. But body language is different because I wasn't trying to be a dancer,
Hmm.
and so it's been something for me that's like, this is different. What are they saying? What are they communicating? I'm
Yeah.
so curious to know, what does this movement mean,
Yeah. Oh, I'm obsessed with
and
that. That's
yeah.
like, that's me. Because
Hmm.
and I feel like one day I will do a podcast episode where I talk about
Hmm.
my story with it, because it
Hmm.
is it like makes sense now that I'm looking at it in hindsight. I certainly wish for you to get that insight and that clarity for your gift and for your writing to really shine in a way that many people can see it.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I put in the description down below all the links to Starla's books and articles, as well as a few things that we have referenced during our conversation. In the next part, Starla's going to talk about attending a couple of the Twins events, but our conversation is going to be mostly around how Lit Twins have impacted hip hop culture. And so thank you for listening again. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and see you all next time.